Hello, loves. It's your girl, Mariah Sincere, and I am back with another bomb live. Okay, guys, we got a lot to talk about today. Immigration, massive migration, legal migration is destroying the United Kingdom. We have a whole illegal immigrant trafficking ring of children being busted in California. Go figure. Okay, no surprise there. As well as Donald Trump potentially talking about the federal government taking over New Orleans. So let's talk about it. Before I get started, guys, if you are new to my channel, welcome. Please consider hitting the subscribe button. I promise you're going to love it here. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Make sure that you join the members only. With the members only, I will be doing members only lives once a week, as well as giving you inspirational quotes. With members only, you will also get more insight into like my personal life while I'm traveling. I'm not going to do my travel content for non-members, so if that's something that you're interested in, if you're interested in seeing my perspectives from being an American that's abroad, or just kind of seeing some places that I go, then go ahead and join the members only. One thing about traveling and being abroad as an American, it gives me a lot of perspective that I wouldn't otherwise have. For example, like I was telling y'all yesterday, I didn't really understand the depth of the child trafficking trade. I didn't understand that it was normal for people in poverty in certain countries to sell their children to the cartels. I did not know that that was a normal thing until I moved to Latin America. And it's like, oh, that's the norm. People sell their children to the cartels when they are poor, or they sell their children to the cartels as passage on their way up to the United States. And that's why I'm saying a lot of times, first of all, I have empathy for anybody who's genuinely fleeing a war-torn situation, or a situation where their country or their economy was destabilized. And this is a person that is doing the right thing, but also has boundaries, has things that they're not willing to do. I have absolutely no sympathy for a mother or father who was on their way up through the southern border, came with no money, and decided they were going to traffic their child to the cartels. And they know before they start this journey that it's a possibility that that would happen. So they knew they were willing to do that. I have absolutely no respect for a person like that. And there are so many people that are in the United States who have done things like that, and y'all are not y'all, but liberals are like screaming for them to stay. And I'm like, if you only knew what a lot of them did just to make it up here, and we say, oh, well, they deserve to be here because they went through all that. No, maybe if it happened just to them, but when you begin to put your children in danger, that's where you lose my empathy and sympathy. I'm sorry. Hey, Jamal, what's up? It's good to see you on my way back home. Okay, good. All right, if y'all could do me a favor, please hit that like button. It helps people know that I'm on live. So there's a couple things we need to talk about. All right, so I'm going to go to Twitter to this post that I found on Benny Johnson's Twitter page. He reposted it. Now, if you don't know who Benny Johnson is, he does conservative news. Give me 1 second. He does conservative news here on YouTube. He also is on Twitter. So we're going over to X. It's not that I never had X. It's that I have an old X account that I never got on, that I no longer had access to. So I had to sign up for X today, and I was trying so hard not to do it, but it's getting to the point where I kind of have to because of this, because I'm doing politics. So I have to keep up with the topics. And X is like the quickest way to get the news, honestly. Let me see if I can blow this up. Okay, there we go. Benny Johnson. Breaking news. ICE has busted a massive illegal alien PDF file network in California. ICE officials have informed me that 10 criminal aliens, all convicted of SA and PDF file activity were arrested today in California's Central Valley. So y'all know I have to clean the language up. I'm not quoting this verbatim, but read between the lines. Gavin Newsom was giving these monsters a sanctuary, putting American children at risk. The Trump administration is cracking down. Thanks to the brave men and women of ICE, these sickos are off our streets. Gavin Newsom was letting them live comfortably and thrive while putting Americans at risk, said a DHS spokesperson. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, nowhere in America is a safe haven for criminal illegal aliens. If you break our laws, we will hunt you down, arrest you, deport you, and you will never return. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to be honest here. The United States has a problem. Okay, and if you don't believe that we have a problem, let me explain. We are the largest market for child sex trafficking in the world. And I don't know, or I don't understand why it's us. And we're certainly not the only country where these activities happen. Perhaps it's a situation where, for example, there are some cultures where they don't necessarily need to traffic because it's normal for them to mess with the children in their family and nobody's going to do anything. But I don't know why. There's something going on. There's a moral degradation of our society. When people know that they can come to the United States and make a lot of money, the cartels know it. A lot of these illegal immigrants know it. A lot of people who engage in this gang activity, they know if you want to make money off of children, just ship them to the United States, right? I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's also an issue when you have a lot of young military age men between the age of 18 to 25 coming into our country illegally. There was a free flow across the southern border. Why is that an issue? Because these are the ages where men have the highest testosterone levels. And it just is what it is. The men can get upset with me. Especially if you are an older man, that your drive, your hunger for that more than likely lessened as you got older. This is also the age where men commit most of the SAs. I know y'all think it's like older, creepy men that are the ones who are the main perpetrators of this. No, it is men who have a high testosterone level, and that is controlling it. So when these men are in their countries, more than likely they have higher access to a woman. What do I mean by that? So, for example, in Colombia, women selling their bodies for money is legal. It's legal. And not only is it legal, it's cheap. Men can buy a night with a woman for like $10. He can buy an experience, right? And that is affordable for most Colombian men. So not only is it accessible, it is affordable. So there's not really a need unless you're just a complete, you love the power and dominance of it. A lot of men don't necessarily feel the need to grape a woman because they can just go buy it for very cheap. Now, when you have a situation where you have a lot of military age men coming across the southern border, and not only are they not coming with women and children, they don't have easy access to a woman because in the United States, women just require more in terms of financials before she even lays down with you. The vast majority do. And not only that, if you want to go buy a woman, most of these girls are not going to sell it to you for $10. A lot of these men can't even afford to give a woman $50 or $100 a night. And that's cheap. That's if you go pay a crackhead on the street. They can't even afford to pay a crackhead because they are working for such low wages in a high cost economy. So what happens? Now you have people who would have otherwise, again, I'm not saying all men who are rapists or women who are men who are sickos, right, wouldn't be doing it in any circumstance. But you have a situation where men who might not have normally engaged in that type of behavior are now engaging it. They're like, I'm just going to go take it. I'll give y'all an example of this. I told y'all I used to be a history teacher. So we were watching a movie about World War II. And it was implied in the movie that, you had this group of men, and it was implied that the men were thinking about raping a woman. Now, they didn't do it and they didn't say it, but I had a student ask, are they talking about, essaying her? And I was like, yes. And I was just straight up, because I believe in not glorifying war and telling people the consequences. I said that is something that is very common that happens during war when you have young men who are away from women and their families, and they've been off at war for a very long time. That's just true. It's just what happens. Raping, pillaging, and plundering. There were several young men in my classroom. Again, these are men who played, young boys who played football. So you got that high testosterone aspect, who were like, well, what they said, what do you expect them to do? Shoot. One said, I would too. What you expect them to do? And when I tell you, not one young man in that classroom was like, nah, that's messed up. You shouldn't do that. Right? No, they all kind of looked at each other like, well, and I'm not saying all young boys think like that, but I'm saying this is true. And that is why you have a lot of men who have been shouting to the rooftops, especially conservative men who have been shouting to the rooftops that it is dangerous. It is unsafe. It is unsafe. Why? Because men know men. It's majority of the time you're going to have women who are naive, who have this Asmongold calls it I don't know if I can say this, suicidal empathy, right? To where you will put the situation and the circumstances of another before you will put your own self and your own children. You will consider a stranger's situation and circumstances before you think about protecting your own children. And this is what I was talking about yesterday when Jamal, you brought up the fact that, I'm sorry, I think I'm cutting out. 1 second. Jamal, you brought up the fact yesterday that a lot of the women in these liberal cities are the ones who oppose Donald Trump taking over places like Chicago, and the men are for it. It's because oftentimes women tend to be empathetic to the detriment of their own selves and their own children. It's because a lot of the time women don't understand how men operate because we've never had to understand. They're the ones who generally have to get out and learn women and do the hunting. And a lot of women don't care to understand men. And that's just the facts of the matter, right? So you have a lot of women who are walking around here naive about the dangerous situation that illegal immigration and mass migration of men without wives and women creates. If you want to take it all the way back to colonization in the Americas, the reason why Latin America is more mixed than the United States in terms of the majority of people in Latin America are at the very least European and Native American. And then in places where they had huge amounts of slavery, they're European, Native American, and African mix. Whereas in the United States, we just now kind of started racial mixing. Well, it's because in Latin America, these men who came over from places like Spain and Portugal came without wives. They came without women. So naturally, you had situations where there were consensual relationships with Native women, or there were situations where they simply took what they wanted. So when you have a whole bunch of men mass migrating into a society, it puts the women and the children and even the boys at risk. It just is what it is. I feel empathy for people in these countries who are not as well off as even poor Americans or poor Canadians and have been economically victimized by the US and IMF. Jamal, I need you to stop. Jamal, I love you. I'm glad that you come here. I would love for you to actually go there and talk to these people. Because when you go talk to them, they're not blaming the IMF. Their majority of them, the only time you really see people blaming the United States is on the internet. When you go talk to the local people, do you know who they blame? They blame their corrupt governments. period. Because at the end of the day, nobody's forcing these people to take loans from the IMF. Nobody, you know what these people do? They take government assistance from the United States, they take assistance from the IMF, and instead of spending that money on their people, these people pocket that money and leave their countries with the bill. So it's not the fault of the United States. It is the fault of the leadership in these countries. These women absolutely understand. They instigate most of the beefs. They are, oh, I don't believe women are demonic. They don't care about most men anyway. I don't think it's that women don't care about men. I just think that women have not necessarily been in a position to where we have to understand men. So when you have women like myself and other men who are telling women it is a dangerous situation. It is dangerous when you mass import men of military age with no woman and you deprive them of sexual access to a woman. You are going to create a powder keg situation. A lot of women, because they have bought into a lot of feminist ideology, genuinely believe that there are no differences between men and women. They don't understand that testosterone affects men, especially young males between the ages of 18 and 25, in a different way that it affects women. They believe that our brains work the same. They completely bought into this ideology. And because of that, they are naive. I don't think it's a hate or disdain for men. It's that they think that they know better and they just simply don't. America and the CIA do covert operations in their countries to overthrow their leaders. But again, that alone, my point I'm trying to make, Jamal, is that the actions of these local leaders and the leadership in those countries negatively impact that country far more than any CIA covert operation. They have laws, they have legislatures, they have a lot of the same things. They have a lot of the same tools available to them as in the United States. What happens is their governments sell them out, period. And when you have corrupt governments like that, if it wasn't the United States so-called taking advantage of them, it would be somebody else. Because at the end of the day, you have people who don't care about the people, who have sold the people out. And the United States is not to blame for that. I'm sorry. I don't feel like we should shoulder that blame. It's easy to do that. It's easy to blame the United States because then what it does is it absolves the people in the leadership in those regions of personal accountability, of actually having to do something about it. Same way how I say Black people blame white supremacy for why they can't get ahead, when I can point to a number of cultural behaviors and personal behaviors that are the main reason why we can't get ahead, and people want to get upset. Why? Because it's easier to blame white people, it's easier to blame the government than to actually do self-reflection, assessment, and change. It's hard work. It is a lot of hard work. And I'm not saying that issues don't exist within our government. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is probably about at least 80% of those problems would be resolved if people would be doing what they're supposed to be doing on a day-to-day basis and behaving in a way that is reflective of somebody who wants to achieve, strive, and accomplish something in life. Okay. So I don't know. What do y'all think about that? I'm glad here. Oh, let me see if I can zoom in on this. Here are the men who were involved in this. ICE arrested Antonia Miguel Francisco, an illegal immigrant from Mexico, with the conviction of lewd and lascivious. Oh, I didn't know that word. That's a new word for me. Lascivious acts with a child under 14. Dang, so he can't even say the girl lied about her age, because ain't no way. ICE arrested Sithida Akpovyoung. Oh, baby, I don't know how to say that. An illegal alien from Laos with the conviction of SAing a victim under 18 and sentenced to 348 days in jail. That's it. Applevion has an extensive criminal record, including multiple illicit substances offenses, resulting in more than 6 years combined in jail time. How was this man allowed to remain in our country? And a conviction of failing to update SO registration. He should have been deported the first time that he got a sentence. Tatiana, can you turn that stove off? He should have been deported then. Per our legal codes, you can deport an immigrant, a legal immigrant. They don't even have to be illegal. A legal immigrant for acts of moral turpitude. That is very broad, right? So basically, you could just deport them for doing something that is deemed socially unacceptable, right? This man is actually out here breaking the law. Not only is he not breaking the law, he's harboring criminals. And then you have not only is he breaking the law, he's harming children. And then you have these liberals in California who want to protest ICE, who want to say people are being racist, and they don't even ask questions. They don't even care to get the full story. It's automatically because somebody is an illegal immigrant, they are innocent, and there's absolutely no way they could have done anything wrong. And to even suggest that is rooted in racism. Okay. ICE arrested Gurmeet Singh, an illegal alien from India, charged for sending obscene matter. So he must have sent some photos. So we got India in the house. We got Laos in the house. ICE arrested Wilmar Aramis Vasquez Lopez, an illegal alien from Guatemala, with a conviction for lewd act upon a child under 14 and sentenced to 3 years in prison. He was also convicted of lewd acts upon a child 14 or 15 years of age and was sentenced to 8 additional months in prison. Now, we've got Laos, we've got Guatemala, and we've got India so far. But let me be very clear. A lot of people come from cultures that are different than ours. For example, my grandfather worked for, he used to work with a lot of Mexicans, right? And this is not an attempt for me to color all Mexicans as this, but there are certain things that are just more culturally acceptable. For example, in the United States, at one point, it was culturally acceptable for grown men to marry children. Now it is not. You have certain cultures where certain things are normalized and accepted and swept under the rug. So this particular man, without shame, told my grandfather, as soon as she gets hair down there, she's ready. He sure did. Now, this was not a Mexican who was born and raised in the United States. You know, he was like he was an illegal immigrant, right? So he had grew up in Mexico. But you also got to think about this. Cultures where they have rituals or traditions, for example, the whole quinceañera thing, that is to signal that at 15, she is a woman. She is a woman. And though I love a good quinceañera and the beautiful dresses and the food, like that is not rooted in nothing. They don't just have that just to have it because it's fun. Maybe the ones that live in the United States, but a lot of these men in these countries, and even some of these women, genuinely believe that at 15 years old, this is a grown woman who is ready and willing to lay down with a grown man. So it's a lot more normalized in a lot of these cultures than what we're willing to talk about. And it creates a problem. With that said, I grew up around Mexican people and I love Mexicans. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just keeping it. I'm just being honest. I'm being honest. Let me fix my camera situation. Give me 1 second. There we go. I think that makes better sense. Okay, guys, if you're just now coming in, please hit the like button. Right now, I am talking about a child trafficking ring that was busted in California. Governor Gavin Newsom was harboring them. And the reason why I'm saying he was harboring them is because when you promote sanctuary cities and when you are opposing ICE entering your cities and doing their job every chance you get, when you are coloring this and classifying this as racism, what that tells me is that you don't care if people who are committing crimes against women and children, right? Even little boys. Heck, we don't know. Some of them might be raping grown men. Okay. You don't care if these people are allowed to run amok in your community so long as everybody that has entered the country illegally is allowed to stay. And on the part of these politicians, this is not being done with good intentions. They do this so that they can boost their numbers when it comes time to do a census, so that they can get more representatives in the House of Representatives. They do this so that when it's time for re-election, people in California can go vote without IDs, thus enhancing their chances of getting reelected. Because let's be clear, the only reason why they even promote illegal immigration is because they know if people come into this country illegally and they need to stay forever, then their vote is going to automatically go to the person who is promoting illegal immigration, because their status and whether or not they can stay in the United States is tied to that particular politician. It's brilliant. It's diabolical, but it's brilliant. Okay, ICE arrested Jose Mancia Nunez, an illegal alien with a conviction for sexual battery and sentenced to 2 years. So he's already done time. I don't understand. Why are these people not doing their time and then getting sent back to their country? We already have laws on the books that allow for this. ICE arrested Cesar Osuna Martinez, an illegal alien from Mexico, with the conviction of lewd and lascivious, I'm gonna have to get that word right, act with a child. ICE arrested Arturo Lopez Ramirez, an illegal alien from Mexico, with the conviction of sodomy by use of force. So this man was going in the back door forcibly. That's to me, that's one of the most terrible ways to get raped. ICE arrested Miguel Jimenez, an illegal alien from Mexico. Okay, so far we got 3 from Mexico, with the conviction of arranging a meeting with a minor to commit SA. ICE arrested Fabian Perez Ornelas, an illegal alien from Mexico, with the conviction of contacting a minor under 18 for sexual purposes. Again, this is somebody else from Mexico. And before I explain to you the mentality that is pervasive in Mexico in regards to underage girls, I did not go. This is my first time actually going through this list with y'all. Again, I am not saying that everybody from Mexico, all Mexican men like children. Certainly, there are many Mexican men who would probably beat the snot out of men like this, right? But what I'm saying is it is absolutely more culturally pervasive in Latin America for men to engage with underage girls. It just is what it is. And it's very underreported. Very underreported. It seems as normalized. I grew up with a couple of girls who had babies by their fathers, Hispanic girls. And again, it happens in other cultures, certainly. But like it's on a whole nother level. It's on a whole nother level. Okay, let's continue. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, Tatiana, can you come plug in my laptop? Thank you. Okay. I had another story. This is kind of tying into what I'm talking about just now. Oh, okay. So this man is talking about what is happening in the UK to the young girls because of illegal
going on in Europe if you're not from there. You see this 16-year-old Ukrainian.
or even legal. They have a lot of legal immigration. They're just outright allowing it in the UK. I cannot hear it. There we go. So this says outrage in Germany after Afghan migrant who was arrested for raping an 11-year-old was released after 12 days, then raped another girl. How are these people getting released? What is going on? There's a problem with the laws in these places, because my whole thing is, regardless of who's doing it, let's say they didn't have a mass migration problem. Is it normal for a German citizen to grape somebody and then get released very soon? That is a problem, whether it's an illegal immigrant or a citizen. What is going on? This is not taken seriously enough for me.
So many European girls are paying the price for these stupid woke immigration policies. I have a home in Germany since 2020, where my wife is from. So I'm going to try to explain to you what's going on in Europe if you're not from there. You see this 16-year-old Ukrainian refugee in Germany? She was murdered by a beast Iraqi migrant who was set for deportation. These two Afghans raped girls that were 13 and 15 in Germany.
I remember I told y'all about that US, was he a Marine who did that interview on Joe Rogan? And he was saying that when they were in Afghanistan, grape is very normal. Like, it's culturally acceptable. And not just that, it's normal to have like a village boy or a few village boys who get passed around by the men. Or you'll see a lot of these men riding around in trucks with the little boy, and you'll be like, oh, that's their son. Only for people, the Afghanians to be like, that's not their son. So, like, when they're away from the women and children, they were traveling with boys that they used for the purposes of raping them. Some of them even had a harem of boys. See, here's the problem with liberalism. It preaches that all cultures are good. It's good. It's just different. And that we should be tolerant of all cultural practices. But being tolerant of all cultural practices also means accepting that rape is normalized in these cultures, and to allow these people to run amok in your community and to pretend that it's not going on. And no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm not painting all Afghans as people who rape children, certainly not. And I hate that people who, it's kind of like when we talk or been talking about black fatigue and black people. There are plenty of black people who don't agree with ghetto culture and ghetto behaviors, but because you have so many that are running amok in these inner cities and sliding on the ops and committing crimes, it makes the rest of us look bad. So we kind of have to hold that L. And it's either hold that L or hold your people accountable. And when you're not willing to hold your people accountable for their behaviors, then what it looks like is that you agree with it or that you are complicit.
In Morocco, these girls from Sweden and Norway went on a hike, then they got raped and beheaded by ISIS.
Me personally, y'all know I love to travel. I would never travel to the Middle East. For what? For what? Absolutely not.
And then the government downplays the whole story, which is crazy. In England, citizens get jailed for offensive posts, over 10,000 a year. By the way, you see this lady? She's in charge of what defines offensive posts.
It's always a nutty looking person. All these people who are always defending this type of behavior, it's always, especially like the women. Have y'all seen like those jokes going around that like about the differences between the way conservative women look and liberal women look? And like they always look so nutty, crazy looking hair, all these piercings, crazy colored hair. It's somebody that looks like they completely lack discipline in life, or just have a lack of self-awareness of how they come off and are perceived by others, or they just don't care how others perceive them. They genuinely believe that people should just accept them as they are, but that's not real life. People are judging. They're not accepting you as you are. So, I mean, they're already nutty to begin with. Jamal says in Europe, the problem is bad because white women are not having babies like that, while the Muslim women are spitting out babies rapid. Oh, you mean in terms of the replacement, the rate at which Europeans are being replaced? Yeah, that is a problem. But here's the thing, here's another issue too. A lot of the white women cannot get the same government financial assistance that a lot of these immigrants are coming over and getting. So it's like if you can come to a country and get on government assistance and get a lot of financial aid, you are more likely to pop out babies than a middle class white woman who is not able to get help, who has to pay all of her own way. It's the same thing when we talk about people in poverty. People in poverty are more likely, when I think about the people who are still reproducing at a mass rate, like having 6 or 7 babies here in the United States. We don't even have to talk about illegal immigration, just in general. It's the people who are able to get government assistance. The people who are at the extreme end of poverty are reproducing more than people who are middle class, because middle class people cannot afford to take care of all of those children. They are more likely to think about the financial consequences. So what happens is you just have a whole bunch of people being reproduced that are being born into struggle and poverty, and very few of them are going to actually be able to have the cultivation and nurturing that it requires to leave that situation and move into the middle class, right? A lot of them will just go on to perpetuate these same cycles of poverty.
And who gets arrested. While
Guys, please hit the like button and share my video if you care. Let people know I'm on live.
violent gang walk free who raped British girls, basically. And then what do Europe's leaders call it? Compassion. Their daughters get abused, murdered, and raped, and then the media doesn't even want to cover it. You see, what Europe is facing, America could face soon. And it is exactly what Iran faced in 1979, the Green Red Alliance. You see, today we have the woke pagan leftists with pro-Palestinians who are backed by Qatar that could destroy our rich nation and leave it in poverty and terror very fast, just like they did in Iran in 1979. I've seen this story. Don't think it can't happen here in Europe and America, because it can. And believe it or not, it's already starting.
Okay, so Jamal says, give me one second. Jamal says, I don't understand why the mega rich don't have more kids, because they have good sense. The only mega rich person that is reproducing at an alarming rate is Elon Musk. Okay, doesn't he have like 13 kids? No, the reason why the mega rich don't have a lot of kids is because first of all, the type of women that men who are mega rich date don't want to have all those kids. They got with a mega rich man so that they can live in luxury and keep their bodies right, not so that they could stay home barefoot, pregnant, and reproducing. Rich people also understand more than somebody that is in poverty that in order to have a good, well-rounded child, they require attention. See, this is why I was so critical of a lot of these men who preach about having all of these children in multiple homes, having harems of women, who preach this polygamous lifestyle. Men who are disciplined enough to become mega rich, or if they inherited the wealth, to maintain the wealth, they understand quality over quantity. And I'm not saying that they're not out here engaging. I'm not saying that they're not out here cheating on their wives. A lot of them are. Many of them aren't, because they simply don't have the time. But a lot of them at least have the discipline enough to understand it is not in my best interest to try to maintain multiple women in multiple households. Why? Because ultimately my seed will suffer. So they just think different. They think differently than the average man who fantasizes about getting rich so that he can be undisciplined and populate the earth. Okay, let's continue. So yeah, this is a huge problem, and I hope that we will consider this. Give me 1 second. I had some other stuff I wanted to talk about here on Twitter. And then we're going to head over to Cash Jordan's channel.
Ask me if it's as bad as they say, to which my answer is always.
Okay. So she is talking about, this is on Twitter. This is Elon Musk reposted this from Darth Powell's Twitter page. And she is talking about mass immigration destroying Europe. And Elon Musk said, instead of arresting the violent criminals, the police in Britain are told to arrest people who tell the truth on social media, which is true. They've arrested Tommy Robinson, who is an anti-mass migration advocate in the UK. They've arrested him so many times. As a matter of fact, is he in jail right now? I remember he got arrested a couple weeks ago just for speaking up.
Ways, it is worse. You have no idea how this affects your day-to-day life, how unsafe I felt living in London. And I lived in West London in Zone 1, which is like about as nice as it gets. And I had my phone stolen multiple times right out of my hand, because what they do is they wear masks and then they'll take their little e-bikes and they'll come and grab your phone out of your hand. And they do it all the time. It's like known. They'll stalk you. They'll follow you. They'd use intimidation tactics. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. I wouldn't dream of walking home alone at night. I'd always take a cab. You have to constantly live in fear and with the expectation that something bad is going to happen. And it's always at the hands of migrants. And so much of it goes unreported and undocumented that it's like, it is so much worse than people understand. And it affects your life in ways that you don't understand. I really hope that the US learns from this and sees this, because
let me tell y'all what she means by it affects your life in ways that you don't understand. So now we have a situation where the West is moving from a high trust society to a low trust society. What do I mean by that? I explained this yesterday. Y'all know that I've been living in South America for over a year now, right? And the adjustment that I had to make coming from the United States to Latin America honestly caused a lot of stress. It caused me a lot of stress. With that said, I was kind of willing to deal with that stress because, again, I kind of moved because I wanted to slow my life down. I wanted to grow my YouTube channel. And honestly, I just wasn't going to have the time to do that in the United States because I was working too much and not spending time with my child because inflation was so bad. And not just that, I wanted my daughter to learn Spanish. With that said, there were some trade-offs that came with that, right? I'm from Texas and I'm from Dallas. Now, even though I'm from I guess you could say a liberal city in Dallas, I would still say that the crime in Dallas is not as bad as somewhere like Chicago, right? But I came from a situation where, at least in the United States, the police will investigate a situation. Or if you call the police and they come on the scene, they will do something. If you come to Latin America, they are accustomed to the police not doing anything, not even taking a report, or not following up, or trying to extort them for money, right? So the mentality here is no dar papaya. What does that mean? Don't give somebody a reason to victimize you. What does that look like? You are constantly watching people to make sure they're not trying to steal from you, that they're not trying to pickpocket. You can't go out and comfortably drink. You're constantly watching everybody around your drinks, even friends and family, right? And some of y'all might be like, oh, well, that's normal. You should be doing that anyway. No, you have to live it and experience to understand. Every time a motorcycle drives by you, you're nervous because moto crimes, like she's talking about, this is like bicycle crimes, are a thing to where if you hold your phone up, a motorcycle will come snatch your phone right out of your hand like it's nothing, and nobody's going to do anything about it, right? So what's happening is in Europe, they're moving from a high trust society to a low trust society, and they are now having to deal with an increase in social anxiety of being in social places. You can't just go out and be carefree and happy. You're constantly dealing with the stress of thinking about your safety. That is what she's talking about here. Okay, so Jamal says you better keep your heat, then you need at least 3 heats, if not that. The problem is in a lot of these countries in Latin America, like in Colombia, it's illegal to have a pew pew, a firearm. Uh, in London, it's illegal to have a firearm. That's why there's so much knife crime. It is illegal. So a lot of the liberals who try to say, hey, well, we should just, because of the school mass unalivings, we should ban all weapons. And I definitely understand where that sentiment is coming from. The problem is that criminals don't care. People who want to commit crimes and have a gun do not care that there's a law against there being a gun. They're going to get access to a gun. So what happens in a situation like that? Well, the law-abiding citizens are completely at the mercy of the criminals because they're coming up on you with guns. And in a lot of cases, you can't even walk around with a pocket knife.
As the only way that these people got in are through leftist ideologies, open borders, virtue signaling, DEI initiatives. Keir Starmer himself recently said that the greatest threat to the UK is Islamophobia, not Islam. I mean, he's literally paying.
So the greatest threat to the UK is Islamophobia, not the rising crime rates, not women and children getting essayed in back alleys. It's Islamophobia. You can't make this up.
For them to come in and rape women and children, to commit crimes at higher rates. It's sickening. It's disgusting. It's a government against its own people. It's created two-tier justice, and this is all through leftist ideologies. And we are so lucky in America that we have an ocean separating us from Europe right now. Mm-hmm. But if we don't learn from their failures and their fall, which is what's going to happen, their fall, we deserve what's coming for us. And what's coming for us is ugly.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that we deserve this, but what I will say is it's a natural consequence. It's a natural consequence. When you don't nip stuff like this in the bud, it is a consequence of the decisions that you make. And unfortunately, the people who have been opposing this mass migration from cultures that, quite frankly, are way too different from Western culture for us to even blend, for those of us who are opposing it are going to have to suffer the consequences, the same consequences as the people who were naive and supported it. And the children ultimately are going to be the ones who suffer the most. So this is a huge problem. I hope they do something about it in the United Kingdom. Luckily, I feel like Donald Trump's election is going to have mass consequences because I feel like people are speaking up more. Donald Trump has said something went to the UK. He said he's spoken to Keir Starmer about the mass censorship. JD Vance has went to the UK and spoken out against their mass censorship and them allowing mass migration into their countries. And we can call it legal migration. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, whether you call it legal or illegal, these people are just showing up unvetted on boats and being allowed into the country and giving government assistance. How is that any different from the people who were crossing our border in mass numbers and going to these sanctuary cities unvetted and being given government assistance? The consequences are the same, whether or not you call it legal or illegal immigration. And to me, I have absolutely no problem because there are people who feel like right now we should put a complete pause on immigration. And I feel like you have to understand that works both ways. And you never know if there's a situation, maybe a job or an experience that you want to have to where you might need to go to another country. And I'm saying this is somebody who has been out of the United States for over a year now. So you have to understand the same walls that you put up, other countries can do that as well. But with that said, I do believe in a vetted immigration policy. It should be vetted. It should make sense. It should do something to stimulate our economy, and people that come to our country should not be living off of social services that are supposed to be for the American citizen. And I don't care if they do pay sales taxes. I do not care. Okay. When I go to, when you go to another country as an American immigrant, you have to be able to prove, and you're going to stay and you want to get a visa, you have to be able to prove financial solvency, meaning you need to be able to prove that you can take care of yourself. And not only can you take care of yourself, you, like, a lot of times you have to make at least, I think in Colombia it's 10 times the minimum salary, right? So you need to be able to be, do very well for yourself by that country's standards, as well as a lot of times they'll ask for a background check. um they will ask about all these records and financial statements that you have to give. So at the very least, we should be doing that. And you can't find a job and work in a lot of these countries. Even if they allow you in, you need to be able to get a job making money from elsewhere. And the way it benefits their economy is that you spend those US dollars in their economy and stimulate their economy. That's just how it goes. And I'm not saying there should never be a circumstance to where we don't give people from outside of our country job opportunities in the United States, but American citizens need to be prioritized first. And then the gaps, true genuine shortages to where we simply don't have enough Americans to do those jobs. That's where we need to prioritize migrant workers. To me, that makes the most sense. I'm sorry. Do you believe some countries should get priority over others, like Canada, US, South Korea? Yeah. I know that sounds wrong to say, but like, mm, well, first of all, you want to prioritize our allies. So, for example, we have developed a very strong relationship with Argentina due to their president Milei, who is a libertarian, Argentina's first libertarian president, and that country was um on the same path of destruction as a lot of Western countries, but because they elected a libertarian president, Milei, things have turned around and their economy is getting better. And Argentina was on track to join the BRICS, but now they are our ally and anti-BRICS. And President Trump the United States has rewarded them with their citizens being able to come to the United States visa free. Now, there is a difference between an Argentinian being able to come to the United States visa free and a Venezuelan being able to come to the United States visa free. Why is that? Because in Argentina, they have a lot more stable economy. Now, their currency fluctuates a bit, but they have a stronger economy, better job opportunities, and you're less likely to have somebody from Argentina come to the United States and overstay their visa with the purpose of remaining in the United States illegally. So you can do that for a country like Argentina. You might not be able to do that for a country that has a very high overstay rate, or a country that is war torn like Haiti. Because, I mean, realistically, why would somebody want to go back to that? Guys, please hit the like button. So yeah, I absolutely do. And it has nothing to do with race. You have to consider the economic circumstances of that country. Okay, give me 1 minute. All right, I had something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, okay. So Donald Trump is considering sending federal troops to Louisiana, right? And this is because the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, is actually asking him to do it, right? So right now he is considering whether or not he should divert his efforts from Chicago and actually focus attention on a state that wants to help. As y'all know, the unaliving rates in Louisiana and the crime in Louisiana, especially in places like New Orleans and Baton Rouge, is extremely high. Okay, so I'm going to share this clip with y'all. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is on Twitter. This is from Rapid Response. It says, at POTUS, we're making a determination now. Do we go to Chicago or do we go to a place like New Orleans, where we have a great governor, Governor Jeff Landry, who wants us to come in and straighten it out?
Washington, D.C. is a totally safe city. You're not reporting any crime because there is none. They said crime is down 87%, and I said, no, it's not. It's down 100%.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
We have a great thing going. I could do that with Chicago. We could do that with New York. We could do it with Los Angeles. So we're making a determination now. Do we go to Chicago, or do we go to a place like New Orleans, where we have a great governor, Jeff Landry, who wants us to come in and straighten out a very nice section of this country that's become quite tough, quite bad. So we're going to be going to maybe Louisiana, and you have New Orleans, which has a crime problem. We'll straighten that out in about 2 weeks. It'll take us 2 weeks, easier than D.C. But we could straighten out Chicago. All they have to do is ask us to go into Chicago if we don't have the support of some of these politicians. But I'll tell you who is supporting us, the people of Chicago. And I sort of want them to let it be known they have incompetent people.
Okay, so because of the crime that's going on in Chicago, and because technically speaking, the federal government has no legal jurisdiction to go into Chicago. It's a little bit different than DC, right? It's a lot different than DC. DC is not a state, right? And our law allows for Donald Trump to federalize DC, and even with that, there are restrictions. There is a 30-day restriction. So what Donald Trump is asking is that the people of Chicago place pressure on the leadership, Mayor Brandon Johnson, to allow him to come in and do this. But honestly and truly, I don't think that's going to make a difference, because as I showed y'all yesterday in a city council meeting, the people of Chicago have been placing pressure on, applying massive pressure on the mayor of Chicago for years now in terms of allowing crime and illegal immigration, and he is not budging, which leads me to believe that he is getting paid by somebody. Okay, somebody has him in his pocket. And as I showed y'all in the clip yesterday, when one of the residents said, this was before Donald Trump gets elected, he was like, guess what? You're going to have to deal, that's okay. You're going to have to deal with Donald Trump. And with Donald Trump is going to come Kash Patel. And guess what? You are going to get indicted. As a matter of fact, I think Donald Trump, he was already elected, but he wasn't in office yet. Okay, so I believe there is massive corruption going on with the mayor of Chicago, and I think it's only a matter of time before that indictment comes down the line. They are going to give him the Letitia James treatment, probably worse. Why haven't Republican governors called for the Fed troops to Memphis, New Orleans, Jacksonville, or Baton Rouge? Well, I'm showing you this clip. He is calling for Donald Trump to come to New Orleans. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think another reason why this might call for, people are calling for the feds to step in, is because there's a difference between even living in a blue city in a red state. For example, in Texas, if you go do a smash and grab, like if you decide y'all are gonna like bust through a store, smash everything and run quickly, and you get caught, it's not like New York where you're going to be out the next day on no cash bail. No, that's not. You're going to sit down. We still have cash bail, and trust and believe you're going to do that time. So the difference between crime in a liberal city or a liberal city in a liberal state or even a swing state or these sanctuary cities is that you will actually get punished and prosecuted in a red state. We have legal recourse here, right? In these blue cities, they're just allowing this. And that is why a lot of the citizens in these cities or in these states are calling for the federal government to step in and do something, because their local leaders and authorities do not care. So that is the major difference. What do you expect from a mayor who's buddy with Lil Durk? Absolutely nothing but corruption. Corruption, lies, and deception. You mean Tiffany Henyard? No, I mean her too, but I'm talking about Tish James. I'm talking about Tish James too.
Washington, D.C. is a totally...
So we shall see. What do y'all think? The governor of Louisiana is asking for help. Do y'all think Donald Trump should send help to Louisiana? I feel like they should send it to the places where they're asking for help, because then you don't have any legal barriers holding you back. You're being welcomed in with open arms. So I feel like to me that's fine. If Donald Trump wants to partner with the leadership in Louisiana and divert federal funds to try to control the crime there, that's absolutely fine. And a lot of people, again, y'all might feel like, here's the thing, and actually I do understand this argument. People feel like if we allow this now, if we allow federal troops into states to get this situation under control, who's to say that we won't be living in a police or a nanny state? So a problem is that a lot of people are having with this, even some conservatives, is that they feel like we will be stripped of our individual freedoms. And actually, that's a very valid concern. And we do actually need to consider the fact that what if this was the other way around? Like, what if the Democrats were exercising this type of power? And of course, we know they would be using it for nefarious purposes. So it's kind of like in this situation with Donald Trump, because we know we're trying to curb the crime rate and save lives. Do the ends justify the means? Is this enough of an emergency for us to take action now, or should we just let the problems to continue in the name of personal freedoms? And honestly and truly, I don't know. I absolutely don't know. But what I will say is, in a situation where you have a governor asking for the help, I don't see anything wrong with the president stepping in. No. Clinton didn't even have to do this to curb crime, even though I hate the 94 crime bill. I think I had something else from Twitter that I wanted to talk about. Oh, okay. So Epstein Files update. This is from Benny Johnson's channel. First of all, I saw he posted this 8 hours ago. They did an interview on NBC, and the quote says, "Did anybody see or hear of President Trump himself doing anything inappropriate as it relates to Epstein?" And the Epstein survivors said no. So let's
read as it related to Jeffrey Epstein. I do have to ask, and I know, and it's just something that I think we're compelled to at this moment, with the attention on President Trump, with these questions around a pardon. Did anybody see or hear of the president himself doing anything inappropriate as it related to Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
I do have to ask, and I know.
Okay, so there you have it. Because Elon Musk said that, he made a big splash on Twitter when he said that Donald Trump didn't want to release the Epstein files because he's in them. But technically speaking, that's not untrue. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, but not once is he mentioned as a perpetrator. Also, to this day, there have been no victims. And this was even before Donald Trump got elected. This was during his last term in office. I have yet to hear a victim name names and say Donald Trump victimized me. Not in the same way that they're doing Prince Andrew. Y'all understand? So like, so just because he's listed in the files and he associated with Jeffrey Epstein doesn't mean that he was engaged in those type of activities. It just does not. How many times have y'all been around or been friends or been in close proximity to somebody who was doing wrong? I have my daughter's dad, he was friends in high school for a very long time, good friends with a boy who ended up growing up, becoming a man, and going to jail because he touched children. My daughter's dad does not like children at all. That does not make him a perpetrator because he was hanging out with the person. A lot of the times, money hangs out in close proximity to other people that have money. So if you are Donald Trump and you are extremely wealthy, and there's this mover and this shaker called Jeffrey Epstein, of course, you're going to rub elbows with them. I'm saying all that to say, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not saying that Donald Trump didn't do anything. Of course, I'm on the side of right. I want anybody who victimized children to be exposed, and I want them to be locked up forever and ever and ever. Okay. I wish worse could happen to them. But what I'm saying is right now, there is no evidence to support that Donald Trump mess with any of these children. Now, what I will say is because of the way that he initially handled the situation, it has created a lot of distrust because he basically tried to debunk it as a liberal conspiracy theory. So naturally, there are going to be people who distrust him. Naturally, there are going to be people who believe that he was also engaging in PDF file behavior. And honestly and truly, that's his own fault. But I said this before and I'll say it again. I think there's something going on that we don't know. It could be as simple as they say, if you don't deny this or if you don't paint this as a conspiracy theory, we're going to take your whole family out. So we don't know what's going on. What I will say is I don't believe that he was a perp. I don't believe that. I like her as an anchor. Even though I hate mainstream media, NBC anchors give me a home warming feeling. They actually do. They actually do. Okay. So I want to talk about the fact that this is also from Benny Johnson's channel. It says, breaking: Epstein victims and survivors announced they will be releasing their own client list. So let's see. This was on Real American Voices. Okay.
Announce now. Transparency is justice. Release the files, end the secrecy, and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law. And let me announce now, several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names.
Okay, let me say this. This is stupid. This is stupid. This is stupid to do this press conference. Because you don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So they're doing a press conference. Anybody who victimized them and is a person of power and means to get you taken out is now being put on notice that you intend to expose them. And when people get desperate, they do desperate things. Now, one might think, okay, well, because they do this did this press conference, that allows them a certain level of protection. But honestly and truly, no, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. So I feel like if you're going to do something like this, it's best to just do it. Why tell people what you're going to do? Put the list out. Put it out. Drop it. Drop it without anybody waiting for it, waiting on you, without giving people time to make any moves on you. All these ladies could individually come out and drop these names if they wanted to. So I don't understand. This is very weird to me. I don't understand what's going on. And I'm not suggesting that these women are lying. I'm just saying there's something strange. I don't know what's going on. Whoever is advising them is not advising them correctly. They are behaving in a way that to me is ill-advised. So I don't know. My whole thing is, if y'all are going to put out the names, just go ahead and put them out. Put them out. Let's stop these games. Um, lastly, so we'll see what happens with that. Do y'all even care at this point? I still think it's important. I just think that there is a lot of weird behavior surrounding this situation. And honestly and truly, it's creating a lot of distrust in the American people. So lastly, we're going to go to Cash Jordan's channel. Okay, so let's go back. We're going to circle back to Chicago. So this video is entitled Looter Wipes Out Downtown Chicago. Mayor blames Trump as city collapses. Wow. Go figure. No responsibility ever.
Ha empezado la cuenta atrás. Hay un nuevo mundo. ¿Estás preparado? En los últimos días de 2022,
Before I get
OpenAI
into this video, guys, for those of y'all who don't know, I am a life coach who specializes in helping people who have been through particularly traumatic situations, toxic relationships, traumatic childhood, dead-end job, and you want to change your life. I coach people through those situations and help them develop a plan. Also, for those of y'all who are interested in taking a sabbatical out of the United States, that doesn't mean you have to leave forever. But if you want to leave for 3 to 6 months and then return, I help people plan for those situations. So if that's something that you're interested in, my website is in the description box, ThePassportSis.com. Again, I do life coaching and I help people plan to take a sabbatical out of the United States. If you're interested in that, go to ThePassportSis.com. You will book an initial consultation with me under coaching. I also offer Spanish classes on there for people who are going to be traveling to Latin America and you need beginner Spanish lessons, as well as if you want to hang out with me and you come to a country that I'm in and you want a travel buddy to help show you the ropes of that place, you may also book with me there. So I hope to see some of y'all. Okay, so here we go.
ChatGPT, una inteligencia artificial revolucionaria.
Welcome to Chicago, America's safest. Oh no! Oh, what's going on here? This is like a brawl at a shopping center or something. That's a security guard, 2 security guards. Where's the police? Oh, there they are. Finally, they've shown up. And there's a Walgreens, a whole bunch of stores in the background.
The reason why the police can't show up on time is because, first of all, they're understaffed and there's so much crime. It's hard to be in multiple places at once.
No car can drive down the street. Yeah, this is perfectly normal. Safest big city in America. No crime here. Don't need Trump, even though this is all his fault somehow.
That started it ran off and they ain't grabbed him.
Oh, the guy that started it ran away, so he's gonna live to fight another day, I guess. Wonderful. But at least the stores themselves are safe, right?
What's up, y'all? We have this customers today, and I'm buying Beauty. See, she's the best customer.
I don't think she's shy.
Wow. This is in Chicago.
Not like that.
He's stuffing all those clothes into that
Look,
little bitty
she's
purse.
stuffing clothes in that tiny little purse.
Bag is not closed.
And I'm like, is she even looking to see if these are clothes? It looks like she's just stuffing anything in there. She might be a booster or somebody who's going to go sell the clothes on the streets because she's like indiscriminately snatching these clothes up off the sale rack.
No, it's not.
Customer service.
This is crazy.
I'm sorry.
And there she goes. That's a successful day at the shopping center. But as you're about to see criminals.
Okay, and here's the thing. I don't mean to be that person, but I have to be that person. People will get upset because store owners will see this type of woman come in and do this kind of stuff on a daily basis, probably several times a day, or at the very least, multiple times a week, and then get upset when these people start profiling. Because like after a while, you notice patterns. With that said, true loss prevention workers, people who really work in loss prevention and have loss prevention training will tell you that there's no look. There's no look for a thief. They're because they see so much of it. People who like that's their job, and they'll tell you people of all type of races and backgrounds, addressed in all different kind of ways. They come in and they steal. They'll come in with their kids and everything. But you got to understand, people are going to adapt to the environment that they're in. So if they live in an area where it's predominantly a particular demographic and they see that demographic is doing the most stealing, then automatically they're going to be more on guard, right? When these kind of things happen in their store.
Criminals aren't just stealing clothes.
We just got new video tonight from police. It shows 4 thieves dressed in black get out of an SUV at Madison and Lockwood. This was early yesterday morning. They break through a window in an Austin business and then steal an ATM inside.
Look, it's crazy.
Investigators believe this could be the same crew that hit a business at Madison and Pulaski in Garfield Park just last Tuesday.
Look, they got
You can see 2 of
sledgehammers?
the 4 thieves waiting outside, one holding a pickaxe and another parking an SUV. Police say
This is
thefts like
crazy.
these have happened at least 18 times since June.
18
Costing small
times.
businesses thousands
It's almost
of
like
dollars.
there's a crime problem
Police
here
are still
nobody's
looking for
talking
the crew
about.
behind them.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's take this back to all of y'all who were like, the white man is holding us down. And white flight, and they take the investment out of the community. If I'm a business owner, why in the hell would I put my business in your community and give you an opportunity to have a job or you to have access to fresh foods or higher end foods or nice quality clothes? Why would I put my business in your neighborhood? Why would I do that? I'm in the business of making money, not losing money. So this is a matter of basic economics and not purely a matter of racism. And it doesn't matter that not everybody in your community is doing it. It doesn't even matter that a small minority in your community is doing it. If enough of the people in your community do it to where it becomes a problem to where I'm losing money, I can't do business with y'all. It's that simple. But we don't want to address that because it's easier to just say they're racist. That's it. They're racist. They want to keep us down. People is hungry out here. Yeah, but here's the thing. They become even more hungry because this is like a self-fulfilling cycle. Okay? People, you come into people's neighborhoods and engage in this type of behavior. So then the businesses begin to leave and the investment leaves out of the community. Then when the investment leaves out of the community, you have a lack of resources and opportunity. And because you have a lack of resources and opportunity, or a lot of times just because they want to, there are some people who they never like wanted to have a regular job and be on the straight and narrow path. No. But let's say it's just because of the lack of opportunity. You don't have a lot of resources, which leads to poverty, which poverty leads to you committing more crime. And then you commit crime and then you go to jail. Now you have a record, which leads to lesser opportunities because people are less likely to hire you, or there are a lot of schools you can't get into, a lot of financial assistance that you can't get into, which leads to more crime, which leads to more divestment for your community. And it's just a vicious cycle that continues.
Now, take a look at your screen. This
Oh,
is
look at these
surveillance
guys.
video of the
Look, this just
burglary
happened in
crew
August.
here at the smoke shop on Taylor Street in Little Italy.
Wonderful.
The crew breaks the front window before busting through the door, quickly able to pull the ATM from the back of the store where it was bolted to the ground, pushing it right out the front door.
Look at that.
At least it was bolted to the floor and they tried.
From this vantage point, you can see the crew of
It's
3
still
load
stolen.
the ATM into what Chicago police say is a stolen 2018 white Kia SUV
Car stolen too?
Sorento.
Makes sense.
Sounds like they pretty much did everything they could.
David Tenty,
The
president
criminals
of the
did
ATM
everything they
Security,
could.
bolting an ATM to the back of your business is what they recommend. And he says physical burglaries are on the decline.
How about
across
not
the
having an
country this
ATM?
year. The South Loop Market, where police say the
Look at this
crew
place.
failed to steal the ATM, but still
The
burglarized the store.
supermarket.
Telling me the same crew may be
Okay,
behind
so
other
when y'all
recent crimes
talk
in the
about
city.
food deserts, oh, we can't be healthy in our community because there is a lack of grocery stores in our community and it is a food desert. Why would a grocery store do business in your community and people behave this way? Because most grocery stores, even in a well-to-do area, operate on very thin margins. They cannot afford all of this theft. It got so bad in the area that I used to live in, and this was in the suburbs, that they took the Walmart. They took the Walmart out of the community. They took the Walmart. Again, this is majority Black and Hispanic area. Took the Walmart out. Walmart said, we can't stay here. Absolutely not. Okay. And then people would complain again. It's a cycle. People would complain about food deserts and oppression, but businesses are in the grocers are not in your neighborhood for charity or for empathy or sympathy. They are there to make money. And if they can't make good money with you, they're not going to stay, or they're not going to open to begin with. They're going to go to an area where the people are affluent or, middle class, well-to-do, less likely to steal, or they'll at least go to an area where the police are going to do something about theft, or where that type of behavior is condemned and not protected and glorified. So I'm going to forever shout it off to the rooftops. The economic situations that African Americans are facing today is completely of our own doing. 1,000%. 1,000%.
With Area 3
you can't even buy vegetables
Again,
in
Chicago
this town.
police tell me they're still looking for the burglary crew behind these incidents. They didn't have anything to say about
Yeah, because they're not allowed to stop any crime here. That's why we've got so much crime. But hey, if the streets here are dangerous, why don't you just take public transportation, right? Chicago's got great public transportation. What is going on here?
If you ever see a train like this, go to the next one on my baby. On my baby. Do not hop on this train. You see a train this deep?
Let me tell you something. I told y'all, I've been in Colombia for a year, have rode the metro plenty of times. The metro has been crowded. Never have I seen in South America, in Medellin, Colombia, a train looking this dusty, dingy, and dirty. They keep the trains very clean. There's a lot of security at every checkpoint, so you can't skip fare. There's no trash, no dirt. You don't see a whole bunch of people looking like they live on the train. And, they're very big on hygiene there. So you could have a train full of crowded people and you don't smell not one musty, funky person with smelly breath. I have never smelled it on the metro there. It doesn't smell like pee, urine. This is in South America. Okay. But you have places like Chicago where you get on the metro and it looks like all out chaos, but we're supposed to think this is normal. This is not normal at all.
It's worse than New York.
My baby. I'm dead.
But why is Chicago collapsing? Let's ask the man who knows best.
Chicago police officers have taken more than 24,000 guns, illegal guns, off the streets of Chicago since I've taken
why
office.
did they release the 24,000 criminals?
24,000 illegal guns taken off the streets of Chicago.
What about the
since I've been in
criminals?
office.
Why are they still on the streets?
They have worked hard every single day to make our city safer.
Yeah, no thanks to you.
And they've made historic progress.
With one hand tied behind their back.
However, we will never be able to end gun violence in Chicago as long as the president continues to allow tens of thousands of guns to be trafficked into our state.
There we go. Now we blame the president. Now it's the president's fault. Okay. Okay, there we go. I knew the lack of personal accountability was coming. It's not the fact that y'all are soft on crime.
And our city.
What about the traffickers? Who's
guns are allowed in the state of Texas. Compare Chicago's gun violence. I'm actually going to do that while this plays. Let's compare Chicago's gun violence rate to Dallas, Texas's gun violence rate. Let's do that. So I'm going to let this play while I figure that out.
Bringing them in. Who's buying them? Who's using them to commit crime all over town? What's happening to those people? Nothing.
Of guns do not come from Chicago. They are not made in Cook County. They are not bought in the state of Illinois. These guns come from red states.
5 spooky signs that you are witched by blood.
This is why your birth date isn't random. In past life.
They are coming from Indiana. They are coming from Mississippi. They are coming from Louisiana.
But then why aren't the criminals living in those places? Why don't those places have the same crime as Chicago if the weapons are already there? You see, that's what I don't understand about this argument. If the guns are made in some place, surely it must be worse than Chicago, right?
That is the harsh reality.
It sure is.
Whether Republicans like it or not. Occupying our city will do nothing to solve this problem.
I don't know. I think it might.
No matter how much.
Okay, so let's go to ChatGPT real quick. I put this in ChatGPT. So the question that I asked was, can you compare Chicago's gun violence rate to Dallas, Texas's gun violence rate? Mind you, Dallas is in Texas. Guns are allowed. We have very loose gun laws in Dallas, right? In 2024, Chicago had one of the highest murder rates among U.S. cities at 21.5 homicides per 100,000 people, surpassing Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and New York. Another source estimates a somewhat lower figure of 18.3 per 100,000 in 2024. Chicago continued its long-standing ranking as having the highest total number of unalivings among large U.S. cities, with 573 homicides in 2024. Early 2025 data through August 21st shows 262 homicides, projecting an annual total of about 450 and a rate of around 16.7 per 100,000. Of those, approximately 210 were firearm relating, accounting for 15.6% out of 100,000. In Dallas, in 2024, Dallas had a lower rate than Chicago at approximately 12.5 homicides per 100,000. A mid-2025 update notes Dallas recorded 123 homicides in the first half, translating to a rate of 18.9 per 100,000, which was a 9% decrease from 2024. Approximately 91% of those homicides involved firearms. Another 2020 base estimate indicates 18.9 per 100,000, slightly higher than other large cities like Los Angeles and New York. So the major difference here is that the homicide rates, it looks like we have a higher homicide rate by firearm, but overall, the homicide rates are lower. So it's kind of like the means in which the crime is committed is different. But overall, in Texas, the homicide rate is lower. Okay. And we are a major city. So again, he's going to try to blame red states. But the fact of the matter is the culture and the mentality of the people in Chicago is the main problem.
Work we do or how hard we work, whether it's expanding our detectives bureau, investing in community violence intervention, and addressing the root causes of crime. None of it will ever be enough until the president decides to end the mass trafficking.
Okay, whenever you hear a politician like this talk about the root causes of crime, they're so busy looking for the root cause of criminal activity that all the criminals that are in the way, when they're looking, they say, hey guys, down in front, I'm looking for the root cause. Get down, get down, get down.
It's kind of like you're so busy trying to find the root cause or trying to address the root cause, which is difficult. The problem with trying to address a root cause is that trying to enact legislation on that, a lot of times is going to depend on public perception or what people view as a valid root cause, whether it's valid or not, right? It's hard to get people to agree on legislations of so-called root causes. For example, somebody like Brandon Johnson might feel like the root cause of all of Chicago's problems is the white people, white supremacy, white people keeping them down. You're going to have a hard time getting the vast majority of white people to even agree with that, right? But you will have an easier time getting people to agree with the fact that something needs to be done about crime.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you
in terms of just simple things, increasing the police force, locking people up, not letting them out the next day. It's easier to get somebody to agree to those terms than to try to address the root cause.
Look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing.
It's not.
I have an obligation. When 20 people are over the last 2.5 weeks. So let me tell you a little story about a place called DC, District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone.
Right.
We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot.
In America.
You're safe. Everyone likes
Wouldn't you love to do that in Chicago?
But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience that you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly.
Okay.
Just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C.
Yeah, D.C.
is a
fine
safe
now.
zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago, it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad. Really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out.
Okay, see, there it is. 1,600 criminals off the streets of the nation's capital. Of course, it's going to make a difference. But we just
enough said. And again, that's why I say it's like, I definitely understand the concern in terms of you don't want your personal freedoms being violated. This is the United States of America. But honestly and truly, the liberals are one to talk because they don't even believe in our Second Amendment gun rights. So it's kind of like, do y'all believe in personal freedom or not? But I definitely understand the concern. But what Donald Trump is doing is actually making a difference in terms of quality of life. It's kind of like the same argument that I make when I talk about President Bukele of El Salvador and the left, who didn't even know who that was. Majority of them before Donald Trump started sending criminals to Sukkot over there. A lot of them don't understand that he's a very popular president. The people love him over there in El Salvador because at one point they weren't able to even safely take their children to the park. And now they can safely take their children to the park. And people told them that it couldn't be done. That's the problem. People told them in Latin America, because of the cartels and the gangs, nothing can be done about this. But all it took was the will of a politician who was not in the back pockets of these gangs and cartels, who was willing to do something about it and clean his country up. And now it is the safest country, one of the safest countries in the world, definitely the safest country in Latin America. And people are reinvesting back into that country. So it's like when you think about the outcomes of what could come with this type of action, it's hard for me to argue against it, right? The results speak for themselves. With that said, y'all, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Again, guys, I am doing life coaching. And if you would like to take a sabbatical out of the United States for 6 months, or if you want to leave, move out, whatever you want to do, just to kind of experience something different for a while, even if you want to go back. I always recommend that I think all Americans should at least do a 6-month stint out of the United States. It will give you perspective. It will help you see things differently. And you'll have something to compare it to. With that said, guys, you can book your session with me under coaching at ThePassportSis.com. It is under It's in the description box. With that said, please hit the like button on your way out. Share my videos with people who you think will like my content. And I will see y'all back here tomorrow. I'm coming on at lunchtime, 12 o'clock. So I'll see y'all then. Goodbye.